So let's take a look on how to track your crypto portfolio completely on Notion. Now, before we jump into the nitty-gritty specific details on how every little thing works, I want to give you a quick walkthrough and overall guide of the template to show you what it provides. So at the top here, you got your general portfolio stats. Further down here, we've got your live tools. These are your live charts, for example. Then you've got your crypto fear and greed index, which is also a live tool which updates daily. Then you've got your exchange rate here, so you can change this and it gives you the live exchange rate. Further down, we've got your cash flow, so you can track your withdrawals and deposits. If we scroll further down, we've got the project section. This is essentially the projects that you're currently invested in. And you've got the stats for them up here as well, including the current price, which is updated live in real time, well, every few minutes essentially. So you don't have to do this manually yourself. Now, the specifics on how that works and how to set it up, I'll show you in a bit. Let's just continue with the walkthrough. So if you open up the specific project, let's say Ethereum, inside that, we've got a live trading chart here for Ethereum. And if we scroll further down, we can track our trades down here. So if you've bought 1 ETH or 2 ETH for whatever price you did, you can track it in this section over here. All right, now let's close that. And that's pretty much it on what it provides. Now let's dive deeper on how all of this works and actually set up a portfolio. So I'm going to go back to the main template section. And what we can do here is actually start off with a new account. You can have multiple accounts. For example, if you're trading for yourself or for a family member, maybe your wife, your husband, your girlfriend, your father, your mother. Equally, if you're on a professional team and you're working for, let's say, a hedge fund and you've got multiple portfolios that you need to manage, or different accounts, you can set them up here. So I'm going to make a new account here. Let's call it test account. And as you can see over here, you can also select whether you want to have a light mode template generated for you or a dark mode. So if you're using Notion in dark mode, I obviously recommend using the dark mode template. Now, with that aside, if we open up the test account, as you can see here, it will take a few seconds, but it will generate the portfolio tracker for you. And there we go, we got the balance. Now, the balance, I don't recommend creating more than one balance. It actually generates one for you. And you can just move on from that, continue next. But essentially, it does show you your deposited, your withdrawn, your current holdings, the cash remaining, how much you currently still have in the portfolio overall, your profit loss for this portfolio, for this account, and your return on investment, your ROI. So let's open this up. And these stats actually will be displayed here, which is why I usually stick to this view. And this is where I do everything. Everything I just mentioned, the deposit, withdrawn, current holdings, cash remaining, profit loss, ROI, that's all here. Now, the next section here, we have the live tools, which I mentioned before. We'll look at this in a little bit more detail, but essentially you've got here your BTC, Bitcoin, ETH, BNB, SOL, XRP, etc., and all the charts for them. You can change the time frame from a 1 week view, a 1 month view, 3 month view, 1 year view, 5 year view, and all. And at the top here, I've got the top 9 most popular or biggest crypto projects. But you can customize this. And for those of you that buy the template, there will be another video to explain how to do this. But you can essentially put anything you want up here, not just these projects, even smaller ones if you want to. You can also change the colors, and you can also change the time frame and a bunch of other stuff. Then you've got the fear and greed index. For those of you that don't know, this essentially shows the market sentiment. What that means is basically if there's a lot of positive news about crypto and all the charts are going green and everyone's buying and everything is going great, this will be closer to the 100 and it will be green. And if there's lots of bad news coming out, the market isn't doing too well, you see a lot of red, this will go down. And the last tool we've got here is the live conversion rate tool. So essentially you can see the conversion rates in real time. So let's say we change this to Ethereum and I want to see how much that is in USDT. And they'll tell me 1 ETH is currently 2,300 USDT. I can change this to 2, etc., etc. And you can use this for pretty much any coin. Now, again, all of this is customizable in terms of the colors that you want to add to this. And I do show you how to do this for those of you that buy the template. Now, there are a bunch of other tools that you can add here. These tools are called widgets. And I actually give you a website where you can find a lot more, which might be useful for you or might not be. I just decided to include these 3 because I do like them. So the awesome part here is that you can actually customize this however you want and add any tools that you prefer for your portfolio tracker. Now let's move on to the next section, which is your cash flow. This essentially tracks your transactions of how much is deposited or withdrawn from this account. So let's say I deposited, this actually is already here for you, the first transaction. You just have to put in the amount. I'm going to say 1,000. And the date I did this was on, well, let's say 2 weeks ago. So now I have 1,000 in my account in cash, which I haven't actually invested into any projects. But if we scroll up over here, we see that the deposit amount has changed for this account. It's 1,000. Withdrawn is still 0 because we haven't taken out any money. And our current holdings are also still 0 because we haven't invested into any tokens. The cash remaining that we still have to invest is 1,000, and the money we currently have in the portfolio is still 1,000. We haven't made any profit or loss, so it's 0, and our return on investment is still 0 because we haven't invested anything. Let's scroll down. I do want to show you what happens if you want to do a withdrawal. So let's say this was a withdrawal, and I decided to take out 500, even though I didn't invest anything with my previous 1,000. There we go. So now we have a withdrawal. So if we scroll up over here, we see that the deposited amount is 1,000. The withdrawn amount is 500. The current holdings is still 0 because we haven't invested our cash into anything yet. The cash remaining in our total portfolio is 500. That's, we've deposited 1,000, withdrawn 500. So we only have 500 left. How much money we currently have in the portfolio? Still 500. The profit loss, again, is 0 because we haven't invested anything. And the ROI on this has been negative 50% because we deposited 1,000 and we took out 500 without making any profit. We actually technically lost money in this portfolio. Now, I do want to mention that these are calculated the way I personally like to track my portfolio, but this is Notion. These are formulas, so you can actually change them and add whatever else you want to track specifically here. All right, let's scroll a bit further down. Let's move on to the project section. And this is essentially your portfolio. This is what tokens you own and that you're tracking and how much you're making or losing with them. So let's go over the specific columns, or as in Notion, they're called properties. You've got the name of the project, self-explanatory, the ticker. This isn't necessary, but I like to include it, but I'm actually going to hide it for this tutorial. Then you've got the address. Now this is important. This is essentially the address of the token from Dex Screener. The way your current price, FTV, and liquidity is updated in real time in the background, it's synchronized without you doing any manual work, is through the Dex Screener API. And in order for the API to know which specific project you want the information from, you have to provide the address of the project from Dex Screener. Now that's actually really easy to do, and I will show you in a bit. But before that, let's just continue going through the rest of these columns. Next, you've got the chain. So this is the chain that this project is on. This is great because it lets me keep track of how much I have invested into a specific chain. So you can actually create another view here. You can filter it by chain, and then you can see how much you've invested in total for a specific chain and which one is your biggest contributor to your portfolio, which one is the smallest. Again, this is Notion, so you can fully customize this however you prefer. Now, the next thing we have here is the storage. So you can essentially specify where you are buying or selling this specific token. So whether it's on MetaMask, Binance, or KuCoin. I find this pretty useful because I tend to forget which token or which project I have on which wallet or on which exchange. And to keep it all tracked in one area, I can always just go and look here. It's like, oh, Bitcoin, I bought it on Binance. All right, well, then I'm going to go sell my Bitcoin. I just have to open up my Binance account or buy some more Bitcoin if that's what I'm doing. Again, this is optional, but you can hide it if you want to. Then you've got the current price. This is updated in real time in the background, so it's synchronized, so you don't have to actually manually check the price and put it here. I will show you in a bit how to do that. Same thing for the FDV, which is the fully diluted value. You can think of it similar to market cap for those of you who are beginners. For those of you who are not beginners, you guys know that it's not quite the market cap, but it is similar. Now, the next thing you've got is liquidity. This is also updated in real time. This information is grabbed from the API, so you don't have to manually input this. I'm actually going to hide these two because they're not really needed here for now. So the next thing I do want to show you is the tokens holding, which basically means how many tokens of this project you're currently holding. So if you've bought 10 Bitcoin, it would say here 10. If you bought 2 ETH, it would say 2 ETH. If you bought 1.5 BNB, this would say 1.5. Now, the next thing here is the holdings value. So that's what it's currently worth. It basically takes a current price, whatever, let's say Ethereum is currently priced at 2K. Your token holdings, let's say you've got 2 of them, and then multiplies that. So you get 4K. And your holdings value basically is 4K. It's how much that specific project and how much of it you have is worth right now. Your portfolio allocation basically shows out of all of your current holdings value, what is the percentage of your overall portfolio that specific project holds. So let's say you invested into Bitcoin and Ethereum. So let's say you've got 2K worth of Bitcoin and you've got 8K worth of Ethereum. So that's a total of 10K. Here it would say that you have 20% of your portfolio in Bitcoin and 80% of your portfolio in Ethereum. This will help you keep track of what you're most invested in and what you're least invested in. And it will help you make sure you diversify your portfolio enough if that's the strategy you're going with. And that way you can try and keep these numbers as close to each other as possible. Next thing over here is your profit loss. This basically shows you how much profit or loss you would make if you were to sell your holdings right now, because it essentially looks at how much you've invested. It then looks at how much it's currently worth. And it calculates whether you're going to lose money or if you're going to make money if you sell it right now. Then you've got your ROI, which is your return on investment. And this basically shows you how much your position for this project or for this token has gone up or down. So if your ROI is 50%, and if you sell right now, you basically make 50% return on your investment. And if you're not doing too well and the project went down, let's say it's negative 50%, this would say that you will essentially lose half of your investment if you sell right now. And last but not least, we've got here the next DCA. This basically lets you set up a date, let's say next week. And you can set a reminder here, which is the great part, on the event of the day. And you can also set a time if you want to, which is over here. Let's set this actually to 1 p.m. What will happen is on this day, you'll get a notification specifically for Bitcoin on your mobile phone if you've got the Notion app, and it'll remind you to DCA or to dollar cost average. That's the strategy I usually go with. So what I do is I set up the dollar cost averaging for all of these, and I'll get a notification for all of them on my phone on the 7th of February at this time. And it'll remind me to make sure I go open up the charts, open up my portfolio tracker, and do some dollar cost averaging. Now, this isn't too important, so I'm actually going to remove this because not everybody dollar cost averages, and I can actually hide this in the view. Now, I did mention that your current price over here and your FDV, fully diluted value, and your liquidity does update automatically in the background if you sign up to my service. This update happens roughly every 2-3 minutes. So you get the current price every 2-3 minutes. Now I'm quickly going to go and set up that synchronization. It's pretty simple. You just have to copy paste two values, but I'm going to skip that part in this tutorial because this is more of a guide on the actual template for YouTube and not exactly guide on how to set it all up. That's provided with the template when you purchase it. So I'm going to cut the video now and set that all up and then come back here once we've got the project table linked to our Notion Sync tool. All right, so I finished setting up the automatic data synchronization. And as you can see, now you've got the current price for all of these projects. And if we open up, let's see the properties that we have hidden. It was the FTV and liquidity. As you can see, the properties over here, they also have the data in real time or roughly real time every 2 minutes. Let's hide these again. They're not really necessary. So the next thing I want to jump into is the actual portfolio tracking. So opening up a specific project and following your trades there and recording your trades so that your portfolio can tell you how well you're doing or how bad you're doing overall or in that specific project. Now, if we scroll up over at the top, we know that we currently have 500 cash remaining, right? Because we put in 1,000, took out 500, so we only have 500 to invest. So we're first going to look into how to track a trade specifically in one of these projects. And after that, I'll actually show you how to add your own projects here, because maybe the ones you're investing in are not included here. You can always add as many as you want here, and all of them are tracked and all of their current price information and other data is grabbed in real time or roughly every 2 minutes. But for now, let's open up and start off with Ethereum. So we're going to use some fake numbers here. Let's scroll down. Let's track a trade. Let's say you bought some ETH yesterday. Usually I just write the ticker here. It's not mandatory, but it does help with reports later when I see the entire transactions table and I want to generate a report for something specific like ETH. Then the date, let's say this was last week. And let's say the trade was a buy. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set the price. These are all just imaginary numbers. They don't really matter. Let's say ETH was at $100 last week. That would have been amazing. It's obviously not. And I bought 2 tokens. And over here, you can actually also include the fee. So for example, if you're on Binance or KuCoin or one of these big exchanges, usually the fees are so insignificant. They're like 50 cents. I don't really bother putting them in here. But for things like MetaMask, sometimes the fees can be, $10, $15, $20. And in that case, it can add up. So I do have the option of putting the fee here. But let's say I did buy this on MetaMask for whatever reason, and the fee was $10. As you can see, the total transaction was 210. It cost 100 per token. We bought 2 tokens, so it's 200, and the fee was 10, so it cost a total of 210 for this transaction. Now, if we close this, we can see here some of this information has been updated. Let's actually put the storage here to, we bought this on MetaMask, so let's say it's MetaMask. The current price is there. Tokens holding has been updated. We now have 2 here because we put in the trade. This is updated automatically. Holdings value. So this is how much it's currently worth. We have 2 tokens. Each token is worth this much. So we have a total of 4,600. Portfolio allocation. So basically 94% of all the money in my portfolio is currently in Ethereum. I've got a little bit left still in cash because I haven't spent all of it. And my profit loss, if I was to sell right now, would be 4,397. So the holdings value is 4,600. We spent around 200 for the actual investment. If we subtract those two, our profit loss, or our profit in this case, is $4,300, $400. And our return on investment would be 2,000% or 2,100%. If we scroll up and we look at our stats further up, you see that these have also changed. The deposit is still 1,000, the withdrawn is still 500. Our current holdings, though, for basically all the tokens we own at the moment, it's on ETH, but this is for all the tokens, is 4,600. Our cash remaining that we still have to invest is 2,900, so it's not actually allocated to any project yet. And currently in portfolio, with all the cash and the holdings added together, we've got 4,000 and roughly 900. And our profit loss, if we were to take profits right now, would be this much money. And our return on investment would be 390%. Now let's scroll down. Let's say you bought another coin. Let's say it was a coin that's not actually listed here. I'm actually gonna delete this because these are just some coins that are provided by the template initially, because these are the most popular ones, so you don't have to input them yourself. But let's say you don't actually own any of these. So I'm gonna delete these. Let's select them to make things a little bit simpler. Delete that, and Tron as well, let's delete that. And let's say you bought something like Unibot. When do you want to track that? How would that work? So essentially what you do is you create a new token here. You name it whatever it's called, Unibot. So you have the name now. What I like to do is I also like to update the image for this. So I usually find a, let's say, Google image for the logo, or I also go on CoinMarketCap and get the image address there because their images there are really tiny and they load faster. So let me quickly go on to the website. So if we search for CoinMarketCap and then we want Unibot, we click on the first link. And over here, you have a really tiny image, which will load really quickly because it's so small. You can do copy image address. You can close this, and we can click on this little icon, select a custom icon, paste the link to it, submit, and there we go. Now we've got the actual logo for Unibot there. The next thing we need to do is find the address. Now, this is important, and this has to be done correctly so that the current price is updated with our tool, and that the rest of the information, such as liquidity and FTV, is also updated with the tool. So what we do is we head on over to the browser, we type in Dex Screener, we go onto the Dex Screener website, then we click on the search bar on the top left over here, we search for the coin that we want. You can either search for the full name, Unibot, or you can search for the ticker. Sometimes it doesn't show for one or the other, so you have to try both of them. We're gonna go for the full name, Unibot, and you have to select one that makes sense. Some of them here are not in dollars, they're conversions between ETH, but this one here is exactly what I'm looking for. Unibot's price is roughly this right now, so this is the correct one. And what we do here is on the right, we scroll down until we find the addresses here. And it's usually the middle address, not usually, always the middle address. So you have to copy the one that has the actual name here, which is Unibot. Click on it, copies it. Then we head back to our table, paste this in, and voila, that's all you need to do. Now this is actually synced. So in about 2-3 minutes from now, the price for Unibot is going to be shown here, and so are the liquidity and FTV and the other properties. Now, the chain that this is on, I don't really remember, but I believe that Unibot is on Ethereum. MetaMask, or Binance, or KuCoin, where did I buy this? You can also add more exchanges here, whatever exchange. But pretty sure you can buy Unibot on KuCoin. The current price, we obviously don't touch this because this gets updated by itself. If you don't want to use our tool for syncing things, you can obviously manually just input the prices here yourself. And now let's actually write down a trade that we did for this. So if we open this up, let's say the ticker, I think, is also Unibot. It's Unibot that. The date that we bought this was on, let's say it was on the 26th. The type was a buy. The price we bought it at was, let's say it was 50. The amount of tokens we bought was 2. So we spent a total of 100. Let's say the fee was $5. Now, if we close this, we check over here, you can see our holdings have been updated. We have 2 of these tokens for Unibot. The current holdings value is still 0 because the price hasn't been updated yet with our synchronization. That will still take a minute or 2. And same thing with the rest of the stats. So I'm actually going to wait for a few seconds and let this automatically update. And then once it updates, I'm going to continue the rest of the walkthrough. All right, and there we go. The price was automatically updated with our tool here. This is now, Unibot's actually $63. So our total holdings value for it is $126 because it went up slightly. We have 3% of our entire portfolio money allocated towards Unibot. And our ROI, if we were to sell right now, would be 20% for this. And if we scroll up over here to see our overall portfolio stats, these numbers have changed to reflect what we've currently done. Now, I do want to show you one more thing, and it's how to track a sale, but it's essentially the same thing. Let's say we decide to sell some of our ETH. We sold some of it, let's say today. What we do here is we write ETH. Let's say that was sold today. The type was a sell. And the price that we sold it at was, well, what's the current price? 2,311. And then the tokens that we sold were, well, let's say we have sold 1 token because we only got 2 of them. And the fee that we paid for that is $10. Let's close that. As you can see, our numbers here have updated, and in cash remaining, we currently have 2,500 because we just sold 2,000 worth of ETH. And our profit loss has changed, and so has our ROI. The last thing I want to show you are some extra views I've created here that sort things and simplify the view. But essentially here we've got the FDV, the fully diluted value, and this is sorted in ascending order. We can actually change this to descending. And as you can see, all of your projects here will be sorted in by FDV. Next thing here is liquidity, same thing. All these projects will be sorted by liquidity from, largest to biggest or biggest to smallest, depending on how you have your sort function. Then you've got your allocation. This will also show just the allocation for your specific projects, for your overall portfolio. And then this will also be sorted from biggest to smallest or smallest to biggest, however you prefer. Next, you got your profit loss. And over here, you've got your return on investment. Now, these are just some recommended views. You can create a new view and it can show specifically the stats that you want. You can create new formulas and new stats, and you can sort those however you want. That's the beauty of having this all on Notion. You basically get all of the advantages and power of Notion for your crypto portfolio tracking. Now, the last thing I do want to mention is that the great thing about doing this all on Notion is that you can share this portfolio with friends and family, or if you're working in a team, with your team members and colleagues. All you have to do is click share, and then you can give them a link, or you can invite them via email. And the best part is you can also change the permissions on whether they're allowed to edit them. So based on your Notion subscription, you've got more features there. You can make sure that people can only comment. So for example, if you are working with colleagues, you do want to give them edit access so that they can edit the trades if they've done other trades. And if you're, for example, teaching how to trade, or you have a following that follow your trades, but you don't want to give them access to actually editing it, just viewing access, you can also set that up so they can just view your portfolio and not make any edits towards it. And the last thing I do want to say is that this dashboard is simply a recommendation. You don't have to track your crypto portfolio this way. With using our tool, if you connect it to any table, it'll create an address column, it'll create a current price column, FDV, fully diluted value column, and a liquidity column. And then from there, you can build out your own completely from scratch Notion crypto portfolio tracker, and the prices and all that we still be syncing and working. Again, all of this built here is just a recommendation, and it's what I personally use to track my portfolio. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. And if you would like to know how to customize any of these things or add more tools or add to this template, all you have to do is buy the template. There'll be videos explaining every single part and how to change things, how to customize it, and how to build your own. Again, thanks for watching. And that's pretty much it for this video.